Alright, so it is time to make bread for the week, and I thought I'd show you how I do that. Take two. The first thing I start with is 2 cups of hot water. Not hot enough where you can't keep your finger under it, but almost. So let's get started. So this recipe is kind of sweet. I'm going to do 2/3 cup of sugar. I know it sounds like a lot, but this batch will make 2 loaves. So there's one. And the sugar is for the yeast to feed on. You can use honey. I don't know if stevia would work for this. That's something I've never tried. Never tried baking with stevia, so I don't exactly know how that works. So I'm going to get this mixed in real quick. Get all that mixed in. Until it's all dissolved. And then I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of yeast. Give it a quick mix, and then I'm going to let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes so it activates. Give it some time to activate, and then we can go the next step. Alright, so after about 10 or 15 minutes, this is what it'll look like. The yeast has started to foam up, and we can continue on. So next, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of oil. And 1 teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon of salt. Get this mixed in, and then I'll start adding my flour. I make wheat bread, so I do, this recipe calls for about 6 cups of flour, which is it's gonna differ a little bit depending on what the humidity is in your house or in your local area. So I do 3 cups of wheat bread and 3 cups of all white bread flour. I'll mix it in 1 cup at a time, and then when we get to the kneading stage, I'll come back for you. So now it's ready to turn out onto your surface and knead. This is about 5½ cups in worth of flour. So I'm going to take just a little bit of flour and sprinkle it on my workspace and turn this out. And I'll start kneading it. Now you can use a machine. I don't see the justification in spending that much money on a mixer when it's simple enough to do it by hand. So I do it by hand. It's going to be quite sticky in the beginning. So if you can't handle getting your hands a little sticky, then I guess go ahead, buy the mixer. Or if you already have a mixer, why not use it? And you're going to keep kneading and just slowly add a little bit more flour until this dough ball feels dense. And you'll feel the difference. That's what's nice about doing this by hand, is you can overwork your dough. But when you do it by hand, you can feel the subtle changes. And that way, you know when it's ready. So you're going to keep kneading until it gets dense. And the consistency should be just slightly sticky. It won't stick to your hands anymore, but it won't be completely smooth either. So I'm going to get this finished and then I'll come back. Okay, now that this has been kneaded thoroughly, I'm going to split it in two. This recipe makes 2 loaves of bread. And I'm going to form it into a loaf shape. And just get it, which isn't too difficult. And then I'm going to kind of just slice into the top a little. Gives it kind of a nice appearance, and it seems to help that if you don't let it rise long enough before putting it in the oven, it doesn't give you that stretched bread look while it's baking. So I have my bread pans greased with Crisco. That has been my go-to for any kind of baking. Nothing does a better job at greasing pans, in my opinion, than Crisco. Typically, I will let this rise in the bowl first, and then I'll put it in the bread pan for a second rising. But my other mixing bowl is being used for something else, so I've got to use one mixing bowl to make 4 loaves of bread. So I'm going to let these rise till they get about 1 inch above the surface, and then they'll be ready to put in the oven. So when they get to that point, we'll come back. Alright, so the bread has risen. The oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So I will put these in the oven for 30 minutes. And when they're all finished, I'll show you what the final product looks like. Quick tip on the bread. If you're only going to have one rising, be very careful when you move it around or set it in the oven. If you bang it around too much, it's going to fall. Now, you can still throw it in the oven and bake it that way, and it'll taste just fine. The only side effect is going to be aesthetic. It's going to create all that heat, making the bread rise back up again real quick. It's going to cause a stretched and ripped look to your bread. So like I said, it's still delicious. But if you want an aesthetically pleasing loaf of bread, just be careful if there's only one rising. I personally usually let it rise twice. And that's just a personal preference because I like the texture and the consistency of the bread when there's 2 risings instead of 1. And I have never had my bread fall with 2 risings. I don't know. Maybe it's possible, but I've never come across it. So if you're going to do 1 rising, just be careful. Be easy with it.